What if I told you that Hercules, the strongest man in mythology, slayer of monsters, the ultimate symbol of heroism, almost became history's greatest villain instead? That the 12 labors we celebrate were actually a desperate attempt to prevent him from destroying everything he touched? The truth about Hercules isn't the Disney version you know. It's darker, messier, and reveals something profound about how we all handle our own destructive impulses.
Picture this. You're incredibly talented at something. Maybe you're naturally charismatic, brilliant with technology, or have an uncanny ability to read people. Now imagine that same gift becoming your biggest problem. That's exactly what happened to Hercules. His superhuman strength wasn't a blessing. It was a curse that followed him everywhere. When he tried to hug his children, he accidentally crushed them. When he got angry during an argument, people died. When he wanted to help, he often made things worse. Think about someone you know who's really good at something, but struggles to control it. The friend who's so funny they can't stop making jokes even when someone needs comfort. The colleague who's so driven they bulldoze over everyone else's feelings. The family member who's so protective they become controlling. Now multiply that by 1,000 and you get Hercules, a man whose greatest asset was also his greatest weakness. Here's where the story gets interesting. There was a specific moment when Hercules could have gone either way. After accidentally killing his music teacher with a lyre, after being kicked out of various cities for causing incidents, he stood at a crossroads. He could embrace his destructive nature and become the monster everyone feared he was. Or he could find a way to channel his strength towards something meaningful. But what made him choose heroism wasn't some noble inspiration or divine calling. It was something much more human: guilt. Modern psychology has a name for what Hercules experienced: moral injury. It's what happens when someone with good intentions repeatedly causes harm, despite trying to do better. Combat veterans experience it, surgeons who lose patience experience it, parents who struggle with anger experience it. The key insight here is devastating. Hercules didn't become a hero because he was naturally good. He became a hero because he was naturally destructive and desperately wanted to change. His 12 labors weren't about glory or fame, they were about redemption. Each monster he defeated represented a part of himself he was trying to overcome. Each impossible task was his way of proving to himself and the world that his strength could create instead of destroy. Think about it. The Hydra that grew 2 heads for everyone cut off, that's what unchecked anger looks like. The Augean stables that hadn't been cleaned in decades, that's the mess we make when we avoid dealing with our problems. The golden hind that could only be caught with patience, that's learning self-control. But here's the twist that changes everything. Ancient sources hint that there were other versions of this story, versions where Hercules never learned to control his strength. In these darker tales, he becomes a warlord, using his power to conquer and destroy rather than protect. He could have been like so many powerful people throughout history who chose to use their gifts for selfish gain rather than service. He could have decided that if the world feared him anyway, he might as well give them something to fear. The scary part? He was probably one bad day away from that choice for most of his life. Here's what most people miss about the Hercules story. Heroism isn't about being naturally good. It's about choosing to transform your destructive impulses into constructive action. Every real hero in history has followed this same pattern. They had something dangerous about them: anger, ambition, obsession, recklessness, and instead of letting it consume them or others, they found a way to aim it at problems worth solving. Martin Luther King Jr. channeled his rage at injustice into peaceful revolution. Marie Curie channeled her obsessive nature into scientific discovery. Nelson Mandela channeled his desire for revenge into reconciliation. The formula is simple but not easy. Take your most destructive trait, find a worthy enemy for it, and never stop fighting that battle.
We all have a little Hercules in us. Maybe your strength is perfectionism that drives others crazy. Maybe it's competitiveness that makes you a bad teammate. Maybe it's sensitivity that turns into criticism of everyone around you. The question isn't whether you have destructive impulses. We all do. The question is, what are you going to do with them? You can let them destroy your relationships, your opportunities, your peace of mind. You can pretend they don't exist and wonder why people seem to avoid you. Or you can do a Hercules deal. Turn your greatest weakness into your greatest service. Your labors don't have to be slaying mythical beasts. They can be as simple as, if you're naturally critical, become the person who helps others improve with kindness instead of judgment. If you're naturally controlling, become the person who creates structure and safety for people who need it. If you're naturally aggressive, become the person who fights for those who can't fight for themselves. If you're naturally selfish, become the person who protects others' interests as fiercely as your own. The goal isn't to eliminate these traits. They're part of your power. The goal is to give them a worthy target.
Hercules never stopped being incredibly strong. He never stopped having the potential to accidentally hurt people. But he learned to aim that strength at things that deserved to be destroyed. Injustice, suffering, genuine monsters. He became a hero not despite his flaws, but because of how he chose to use them. Your destructive impulses don't disqualify you from heroism. They might be exactly what the world needs, properly directed. The anger that ruins relationships could fuel your fight against real injustice. The perfectionism that exhausts your family could drive you to solve important problems. The intensity that scares people could become the passion that saves them.
So, here's your challenge. Identify one destructive pattern in your life. Just one. Now ask yourself, what worthy enemy could I aim this at instead? Don't try to be perfect. Don't try to eliminate your rough edges. Just try to point them in a better direction. Because the world doesn't need another perfect person. It needs more people brave enough to transform their darkness into light. What's the one thing about yourself you've always seen as a weakness that you could turn into someone else's rescue? Subscribe if you're ready to become the hero of your own story. And hit that notification bell, because next week we're exploring another myth that will completely change how you see your own potential.